So have you ever seen the movie Get Out, specifically this scene right here? I wanted to recreate this in a music video we were doing for Brandon Watson. If you've watched this channel for any time at all, you'll know this face. Although I was nervous trying to pull this off with a much smaller budget than what the movie Get Out had, I wanted to see if I could pull it off. So starting the project off, I was talking to Brandon, and basically he wanted this music video to feel as if he was alone. So I wanted to take this feeling of being alone and try to visually, in an abstract way, display that same feeling. So specifically, he had 3 scenes. He wanted to have a therapy session scene, a scene where he was backstage kind of getting ready to go on stage, and then he just said another scene where I'm alone. So that was kind of up for interpretation on my end. So we'll start with a therapy session scene. We're in the same place we are right now in our studio. I had a tube light up above, kind of on a bad bulb setting to make it look kind of icky and worn down, because that was the style. I was going very much for the scene in The Joker, where he went to his therapist, and it was like a government-appointed therapist. So it was like, you could tell she didn't want to be there. She was doing her job because she had to. So I had a couple of tube lights, one above. I had an Aperture 300D, kind of giving a overall fill light to the atmosphere. And then I had another green panel light, which is a cheap, newer light. I think that was one of the first lights we bought, probably about 80 or 100 bucks. Blasting at the ceiling, kind of a green color, because we wanted that green to give the icky feeling. Then I had a tube light up above the clock, kind of shining down. This clock right here, I had a tube light shining down, just to give a little more contrast to the background. And here are a couple more lights that I had up. If you'd like to see kind of like more in-depth, like the storyline I was going with and the camera angles and everything like that, make sure to check out my Patreon, where you can see more in-depth behind the scenes of the different shoots we do. Now, when we go backstage, we wanted to try to have, it was still in the studio, every shot was in the studio, and what we wanted to do is we wanted it to seem like he was coming out after another artist. So what I wanted to do is we brought a mirror in, we put it up against this black wall, we had couches, brought a little poster in, trying to make it a little more homey. And then basically his key light was those bulbs on the mirror, because there were so many bulbs that it was flat enough and soft enough that I thought it looked good. And then the tricky part was we put a white sheet up around the back to kind of give you the illusion that on the other side of that sheet was entering onto stage. So we had a bunch of light shining into that. There were 2 tube lights and a spotlight that we had just like flashing different colors. The spotlight was a mover light. It was moving all around, and I tried to match it to the TV screen that he was watching. If you know who was on that TV screen, put it in the comments. Props to you. We wanted to match the colors, and then with him putting his in-ears in and kind of looking, it kind of sold that idea that he was backstage. And that moves us into the black void falling scene. So I remember watching the movie Get Out, and watching that scene was so easy to understand what the character was feeling in that moment whenever he got sent into that black void. So what I did is I made sure to have constant lighting. In the story, the lighting is coming from above him. As if he's falling down, the light is coming from above him. So what I wanted to do is the first scene, I had him laying back on a stool where I laid a green screen sheet over it. And basically I had him doing an ab workout. He was falling, and the light I had was the Aperture 300D with a, is it newer or is it Nan light? I think it's a Nan light. Ooh, I should know this. It's a scrim, a 4x5 above him that I had the light shining into. And then I laid these black sheets, these negatives all around, so that it wasn't casting into the black wall behind him, so I didn't have to do tons of keying or masking. So the goal was to have all the light on him, and then everything else was pitch black. That was the goal. through that, I had him just looking like he was falling, and that was one shot. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep it still, because whenever I'm going into visual effects, keying and masking, it's a lot easier to have a still camera frame or a still camera, and then you can manipulate it later. Moving into the scene where it kind of looked like he was falling past the camera, what I did is I had him sitting on the same stool, but this time he was sitting, and he was doing the same falling idea. He was still moving his arms the same way. And what I did is, instead of having the scrim above him, I put it in front of him, and it was just the dome light. And then what I also did to try to give a feeling of he's falling is I had the haze going, which if you can't tell, I've got a ton of haze going in here. I really like my haze. But I had haze going, and what I wanted to do is when he was laying back, I put a fan laying down and I made the haze fly up. And then when he started facing forward, I had the haze behind him with a fan flying at his back again, to still, whenever I go into editing, it still looks like he is falling in one direction. So when it comes to the shots that I got for the Get Out falling black void scene, what I wanted is I really wanted to sell the idea that he was, believe it or not, falling. And I could not get him to fall in a black void, and I did not have the budget to be able to have a big green screened room with a harness, and I just couldn't do it all. So how I wanted to manipulate this is I had the first falling scene that I explained, but when it comes to the slider shot, I made sure that all the haze was blowing behind him and put the light in front of him so that it was the same proportions and the same direction of everything as when he was laying down. And when I did the slider shot pushing forward, it really made it look like he was falling past the camera. So using these techniques, being creative with these techniques when you don't have a budget to make it super easy on yourself, using these techniques will really help you be able to create things that Hollywood can create at a budget that that you just don't have compared to them. If you have any questions regarding any of the shots, the coloring, whatever it may be, make sure to reach out to me, put it in the comments, and I will make sure to respond. All right, folks, love y'all, really do. Make sure to like, subscribe, and put in the comments a video that you've just worked on that you're proud of and you want other people to watch. Put a link in the comments. Can you put links in the comments? Love, 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 love. Can you put links in comment section? If you can't put a link, just through your channel, put in the comments the title of the video you want people to watch. And folks, go watch these videos. Go click on these people who are commenting and watch their videos. It only takes one to start your first video, your first film project. It only takes one to put in the comments a video that you want others to watch. It only takes one to make a change. It only takes one to change the world, and that could be you. See you next time.